on the sofa for an hour before watching sport or tosh, then supper and bed. Sundays were much the same, but weekdays started with the alarm as, invariably, one or other of them had something planned. Despite being retired, weekdays were go, go, go. Maxine's eyes refocused from the garden beyond the window to her reflection in the glass. God, she was putting on weight. She really ought to do something about her tum. She sucked it in. That was better, but she couldn't hold it. She let it sag again. Maybe she ought to do more exercise. She was miles away and so jumped out of her skin, nearly dropping the milk container, when a horrified voice behind her said, "Mum!" Cold milk trickled down her chest. She grabbed the dishcloth to mop it up before she turned to face her daughter, cloth in one hand, carton in the other, her heart hammering with the shock of the unexpected interruption. "For God's sake, Mum, what do you think you're doing? And supposing I had Marcus with me?" Her daughter's short blonde curls bobbed with indignation, and her blue eyes were narrowed. She was a pretty girl, or she was when she smiled, with a classic peaches and cream complexion, a slightly retroussé nose, and beautifully shaped eyebrows, which were currently almost meeting in the middle in a frown. "Well, if you'd rung the bell..." Maxine still felt a bit wobbly from being so startled, but it was mixed with irritation that her daughter still thought it was acceptable to barge into her parents' house unannounced. For the umpteenth time, Maxine wondered how Abby would take it if she did it to her. Abby gave her mother a withering look and stamped out of the kitchen. She returned a few moments later with Maxine's mackintosh, which had been hung on the newel post at the bottom of the stairs. She thrust it at her mother. "Do you and Dad often walk about with no clothes on? I mean, I'd have expected you to have been up and dressed ages ago." She looked pointedly at the clock, which read 9:45. Maxine shrugged it on, grabbed another mug from the cupboard and returned to making the tea while she tried to regain her composure. "No, dear," she fibbed. As she and Gordon both slept in the nude, they quite often made their early morning tea in the all together when the weather was nice or if the heating had been running long enough to have made the house warm. Why shouldn't they? "Good, I'm glad to hear it. I mean, at your age too." Well, she might be 65, but she didn't feel like it. In her head, she was still only 26, which meant it always came as a shock when she caught sight of an unexpected reflection of herself. Besides, wasn't 60 the new 40? She decided to move away from the subject of her age. "Anyway, why have you come over? You must have set out really early to be here now. What's so urgent?" "I've got something to tell you. Go and get showered and dressed, and I'll talk to you when you're decent." Maxine took the 2 mugs and returned to the bedroom, thinking, as she tramped up the stairs, that she couldn't make up her mind whether Abby's tone sounded ominous or good. 20 minutes later, she and her husband sat in the sitting room waiting for Abby's news. In the privacy of their bedroom, they'd speculated on what it might be. Pregnancy, promotion, Marcus leaving her. "And that's not outside the realms of possibility," Maxine had said gloomily. "Let's face it, Abby can be quite tricky, and it's not as if they're married. She just gets easily stressed, and she's a perfectionist. She's always set herself high standards," said Gordon, defending his daughter as he ran his fingers through his sparse hair. But his normally smiley mouth was in a thin line as he took on board Maxine's supposition. "Standards which she expects from all and sundry," said Maxine, as she'd brushed her pepper and salt shoulder-length hair before she gathered up the front section and clipped it neatly at the back of her head, a hairstyle she hadn't changed for 40 years. Expecting perfection was a commendable trait, unless you couldn't meet Abby's requirements.